home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, beer drinkers.
Get ready for an all-new experience in information exchange and beer culture.
Your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers from around the globe
right to your home.
You're not just listening to broadcasters, it's the Brewcasters
on the Brewing Network.
That Officer X will be monitoring our drunkenness throughout the show. He's left the studio for a second.
He has a beer in his hand.
He's drinking?
Wait a minute.
Wow. We like to play a little game here called Stump the Brewer. And the chat room, as usual, is much quicker than I am. And they've already begun the game without us. All right, let's start talking about hops. Johnny P. has done some research for us, as usual.
And I really encourage some questions from the chat room.
Cool.
Or calls.
888-401-BEER. Northern Brewer has donated, as our official sponsor for January, has donated a full kegging system for us to give away to one lucky listener in February.
Yes.
Oh, that better be a good contest.
It is. It's got all the CO2 system that you need: the hoses, the tank, the keg,
regulator,
the whole bit. All you need is the kegerator. You need the fridge.
Yeah, refrigerator. That's it.
You got to have the fridge. You can convert one. We'll even post on our site how to do it.
So what do you want? 2-row?
Yeah, I'm going to have some American 2-row, a little bit of crystal. Maybe like some crystal, mixed with crystal 60.
there.
Yeah. Let's go make some here. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the strike water. In today's recipe I'm using 21 pounds of grain, and I'm going to be using a water to grain ratio of 1.25 quarts of water for every pound of grain. Now if we go ahead and we do the math and we multiply 1.25 times the 21 pounds, we get 26.25 quarts, which is roughly about 6.5 gallons. Today's recipe we're going to be mashing at 152 degrees. So do we just heat our hot water up to 152 and dump it in? No, we don't, because the grain's current 80-degree temperature is going to displace a lot of the heat that's in your hot water. Just kind of think of water going into a glass of ice. This is where our brewing software really comes into play. So if you go ahead and you load up ProMash and click the strike temp button, you're going to get a screen that looks something like this. Here you can go ahead and enter in a lot of different variables about your recipe. So we'll go ahead and we'll tell ProMash we got 21 pounds of grain, and we're going to be using a water to grain ratio of 1.25 quarts per pound, and we're going to tell it our desired strike temp, which is 152 degrees. Then we'll go ahead and put in the grain temp. This is Florida, so I'm going to go ahead and put in right around 80 degrees. ProMash then tells us that we do need to heat our strike water up to 172, 173 degrees. That's pretty much it. Let's go heat up some water. I think that's good. Heats up quick, a couple degrees at a time. Alright, let's do this. We're just going to open her wide open. You want to mix this up well so you don't end up with any dry spots in the grain bed. Any dry spots will throw your temps completely off. And plus you'll get less conversion. Now if you've mixed right, you measured your water real well, your thermostat is calibrated right, you should hit your 152 desired mash right on the head. Okay, so conversion is complete and you're ready to drain your mash tun into your boil kettle. So what's this sparge thingy everybody's talking about? Well, sparging is the addition of hot water, typically around 168 to 170 degrees, into the mash tun, and it accomplishes two things. One, it halts the conversion process, and two, it helps rinse the most sugars possible out of the grain's husks. There are essentially two different types of sparging. There's batch sparging and there's Flysparging. I'm not really going to recommend one over the other because each one has its own benefits and its own drawbacks. I personally prefer Flysparging because it's what I know, it's what I learned, and I'm from the old school. If it's not broke, don't try to fix it. In batch sparging, you run all the wort out of the mash tun into your boil kettle. Then you fill the mash tun with the same water ratio you had before, say 1.25 quarts per pound. Let it sit for a few minutes, then drain it again. You do this process until you have the boil volume you're shooting for. The benefits of batch sparging is it's a lot faster than Flysparging, and the biggest drawback with batch sparging is you usually get a lower efficiency. This drawback can easily be remedied though by simply using a couple more pounds of grain. In Flysparging, 168, 170 degree water is constantly added to the mash tun through a sprinkler on the mash tun's lid. It's done at the same time and at the same rate as the wort that's being drained out. So simply put 1 quart of wort out of the mash tun, 1 quart of hot water into the mash tun through the sprinkler. Another note, pay attention to the level inside your mash tun during your sparge. Try to keep around an inch of water above the grain bed without going over too much. Flooding the grain bed can lead to tannin extraction from the grain. During Flysparging, the trick is to take your time and go slow. A general rule is to drain the mash tun no faster than about a quart a minute, otherwise your overall efficiency is going to suffer. The benefits of Flysparging is typically a better efficiency, and the biggest drawback is at a quart a minute, it takes forever. Alright, our sparge water is at 170 degrees, but before we start sparging, we want to run off a little bit because there's going to be little bits of grain and cloudiness that's going to make it into your beer if you don't run it off first. So go ahead and run off a little bit until you see in here it starts running clear, okay? Once you see in here it starts running clear, you can go ahead and actually start your sparge, but you want to do the runoff first. Go ahead and stick this up in here. Open our valve up. then look, you should be running 32. No grain beds being seen coming through. So we'll go ahead and bring this on down in here. And let that start transferring into our boil kettle. Now the rule of thumb, we'll slow this down a little bit too. The rule of thumb is you don't want to go more than a quarter minute, and even at a quarter minute, that's still pretty quick. Plan on about a 90-minute fill here. Then take your runnings, go ahead and add them back into the mash tun. Make sure you don't disturb the grain bed too much, because otherwise you'll just cloud your lineup down here. So find something to pour it onto. We'll go ahead and close the cooler back up. We'll work our line up, and we'll start sparging. Make sure your in matches your out. So what's coming out of here, you want to make sure that the two are equal, otherwise you'll dilute your mash out too much. Alright guys, we're doing the boil now. Really it's no different than the extract batches you've already done. Just go ahead and follow the hop times according to the recipe and pay real special attention to the hop break here, because if you think 3 to 5 gallons is hard to keep from boiling over, try it with 10. This here is a good, vigorous boil. Once a lot of this white stuff starts settling off, then it's time to start your hops and your hop timing. If you add it too early, a lot of the bitterness from your hops will bind to this stuff, and you'll lose a lot of your bitterness. Now you can see the big white head is pretty much gone, and we got a pretty good boil going here, so now it's time to add our bittering hops. And we'll start the timer. Alright, now you're going to want to go ahead and build an immersion chiller. An immersion chiller is really nothing more than a coiled piece of copper tubing used for heat exchange. I didn't get a chance to show it in the video because it started pouring on our heads and we had to wrap up all the electronics. Anyhow, I typically go ahead and I immerse my immersion chiller about 15 minutes before flame out to sanitize it. And then once the boil's done, go ahead, kill the gas, turn on the cold tap water, and begin my cooling. The last big challenge in all grain brewing is what in the world to do with all the spent grains from the mash tun. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you for that one. It's just going to have to be up to your own creativity. Well, that's it for the video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Here's to homebrewing. Cheers.
Pale ale is a friend of mine, and I sure like good barley wine. Chocolate porter, cherry stout, don't you know what I am talking about? Don't you give me that American crude, boy, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love it? Homebrew, can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all the time. Yeah, I think I have me, well, I have me one right now. that American crude. Boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all of the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me, well, I'll have me one right now. Give me a wheat beer on a hot summer day. A box will do me when the skies are gray. I'll take a Belgian brew anytime, and the women think the lambic fine. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind. I love homebrew all of the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me, well, I'm the one right now. Chocolate porter, cherry stout, yeah, you know what I am talking about. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real homebrew. Homebrew, don't you really love that homebrew? Can't get enough of it. Homebrew, it blows my mind.